The complete and utter fraud that is Kari Lake was cross-examined before the United States Senate this week. She was just nominated by Donald Trump to become the ambassador to Jamaica. This was after she was effectively fired by a federal judge because a federal judge declared her appointment by Donald Trump when she was running the USAGM, the United States Agency for Global Media, which oversees Voices of America. The judge deemed her appointment to be wholly unlawful because guess what? She was never actually appointed. She was put there by Donald Trump to be a senior advisor in early 2025. Then she took on an acting deputy CEO role. They made up a fake position for her. And then she engaged in mass layoffs at Voices of America, including the main Farsi channel right before or leading up to Donald Trump's invasion of Iran. So we were completely and utterly unprepared as well to have the kind of media support there. But a federal judge ultimately made the ruling that she was unlawfully appointed from the outset. In any event, all of her actions were deemed null and void, including her mass terminations of like all the people who worked at Voice of America and who worked at USAGM. I mean, she gutted the whole agency and she gutted everybody that worked there. So then what did Donald Trump do? Well, he appointed her to become the ambassador to Jamaica. So she shows up at this hearing before the United States Senate. I'm just going to let her appearance speak for itself. I don't know if she was taking a dip in the reflecting pool by Donald Trump, but in any event, here's how she began, and then I'm going to show you what the cross-exam looked like. Let's share with you what she looked like at this hearing. Let's play it.
And third, advancing American economic interest. I will advocate for U.S. businesses' work to address trade barriers, such as Jamaica's longstanding restrictions on U.S. pork exports, and promote American investment, especially as Jamaica continues to rebuild.
Then she was cross-examined by Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, and he cross-examined her about her disgusting conduct during the 2024 Senate campaign when she lost to now Senator Ruben Gallego in Arizona. And she said that because Senator Gallego's father, who basically abandoned Gallego as a child because his father was associated with cartels, and therefore Senator Gallego was captured by the cartels. And Senator Gallego told the story about being abandoned by his dad, about taking his mom's maiden name, about calling out his father's behavior. And so it was just like a disgusting thing to do. And then she's continued to attack Senator Gallego and saying you're run by the cartels control you. I mean, it's just typical Kari Lake. I mean, she's so disgusting in her behavior, and she'll say all of these just heinous things, just lies and conspiracies and deranged things. And then you'll see at the hearing as she's cross-examined by Senator Kaine, she refuses to retract. Watch as he cross-examines and grills her and shows why she should never be anywhere near any position. Even the ambassador of Jamaica, she shouldn't be near. Here, play this clip.
Ms. Lake accused one of our sitting colleagues of being controlled by the cartels. You had no evidence then, nor do you have any evidence now, that our colleague Senator Gallego is controlled by cartels, do you, Ms. Lake?
Well, we provided the receipts. The father was a high-level drug trafficker, trafficking hundreds of thousands.
You said that Ruben Gallego was controlled by the cartels. You provided no evidence. This was rated pants on fire, a lie. You had no evidence then, and you have no evidence now that Ruben Gallego is controlled by cartels. Isn't that right?
I thank you for the question, Senator Kaine. I do appreciate it. I don't know, and I'm not here to do reputational control or reputational
How about an apology to our colleague? If you made that claim he was controlled by cartels, and now you're saying you don't know what the facts are, then you're acknowledging that your charge was wrong? How about apologizing to our colleague?
I don't believe my charge was wrong.
Okay,
Ruben Gallego's father is a high-level
That's not the question I asked
you. He is a felon.
That's not the question. You asserted he was controlled by cartels. You had no evidence then. You have no evidence now. You're unwilling to admit it. And here's something that's even worse, Mr. Chair. That was during the heat of a campaign. Sometimes we say things during campaigns that we go too far. She's continued to repeat this as a sitting member of the Trump administration. A couple months ago, Ruben Gallego put out a tweet against the invasion of Venezuela. He didn't mention Ms. Lake. He just said he was against it. And she, at 2:35 in the morning, the following day responded, "You are a member of a Mexican cartel family. You are also a fraud. No one is surprised by your take." She's continuing to repeat a lie. She just told the committee she has no idea whether it's true or false, but she was glad to say it and she won't retract it now. That should be disqualifying. Mr. Segar, I got a question for you.
Then you had Democratic Senator Chris Murphy from the great state of Connecticut cross-examining Kari Lake about getting rid of critical transmitters and getting rid of kind of critical technology based in Kuwait that could have been utilized in order to provide information to individuals in Iran in January, and thereafter. And on something as important as this, he also catches her lying under oath and basically committing perjury. Here, play this clip.
There was this very specific issue where staff were requesting access to U.S. transmitters in Kuwait that were necessary in order to broadcast into Iran. And you denied them access to use those transmitters, finally giving them access to one frequency when they needed multiple frequencies. You said that it was because the transmitters were down, that they were inoperable. That doesn't seem to be true. It seems, in fact, from all reports that those transmitters were available, and you were simply making a decision to limit the amount of capacity we had to broadcast into Iran. And you seem to have walked back your contentions that those transmitters were down. It seems like you weren't telling the truth. Can you tell us now whether those transmitters were actually inoperable or whether you were actually actively denying the ability for our staff who do this work to transmit information into Iran?
Thank you very much for that question. I appreciate it. First of all, we've given all funding to Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia. Every grantee that Radio Free Europe is the one that operates Radio Farda rather, and we've given them every single.
But talk to me about this. This is a very specific issue where there was a major problem because we weren't able to broadcast into Iran because you had denied access to these transmitters. You said it was because they were inoperable. They were not inoperable, correct?
We have had repairs done on them, so it could have been at a time when there were repairs done, but we weren't denying them.
You were definitive. You said that this was not a decision to deny them access, that they were inoperable. I mean, this committee can find the answer to this question pretty easily. You're always doing repairs on transmitters. Those transmitters were not inoperable, correct?
I will have to look into that. I don't know.
Well, but you said that you stated on the record that they were inoperable, whereas your staff contended that you were denying them access to the transmitters in order to limit the amount of information in Iran.
Radio Farda was doing a product and VOA Persia was doing a product, and we were using the 24 hours we had to put VOA, which is a government-owned entity, out on the airwaves in Iran. And we have only 24 hours in the day. Unfortunately, sometimes I wish we had more, but we chose to put VOA.
I'm well over my time. I think your limitation of our ability to transmit information to Iran was egregious. It's made more egregious by the fact that you were not telling the truth about what was happening behind the scenes to limit our ability to tell an American story in Iran. And I will follow up for the record on this question of whether you were telling the truth about those transmitters being inoperable. Thank you, Mr.
More from his cross-examination right here.
So I heard you take credit for the current amount of programming in Iran. Was your decision to dismantle Radio Farsi and Radio Farda and the VOA Persia staff a mistake?
Thank you so much for that question, Senator Murphy. I appreciate it. RFE is who runs Radio Fardi. We run VOA Persia, and it is very much alive and well. We had great coverage. We went into surge mode when the attack happened, and we immediately brought in a huge team of folks to cover it. We actually covered the president's speech live with live translation so that the people of Iran could hear what was happening. But just really clear,
I'm not asking you to tell me what is happening now, and what I'm asking you, why did you fire or put on leave all of the VOA Persia staff? Why were we in a position where we had to reconstitute all of that? Do you concede that that was a mistake?
I don't think it was a mistake. I think that we were bringing things to statutory minimum, which is what the executive order mandated for us to do. And we had a small staff, but the minute this happened, we immediately surged and brought more people in. They call it breaking news mode. And anybody who works in journalism understands that you have a kind of a homeostasis level. And then when news breaks, you jump in.
So when this crisis passes, you will bring that staff back down to statutory minimums?
No, I think we're always assessing and reassessing and making sure that we're running things smoothly. But I listen to the folks in VOA. I don't run VOA. I work at the agency level, and I listen to the professionals there to what they need. And I think I know there are people here in this room who work at VOA who would tell you that every single thing they have asked for, we have provided.
Well, that's absolutely not true. That staff protested the devastating cuts. It was a mistake to dismantle our information operations in Iran, and your inability to concede that was a mistake suggests that we have not learned lessons, and perhaps when this crisis is gone, we will.
Now, I just want to contrast that so you can see the difference between how Democrats ask questions and how MAGA Republicans ask questions, and why elections actually matter. Because you have MAGA Republican Senator McCormick from Pennsylvania, Commonwealth. He doesn't cross-examine Kari Lake. He says, I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about the 2022 governor's race and the 2024 Senate race. You want to address that at all? And to be very clear, Kari Lake conducted herself so disgustingly during those races. Remember all the lies and conspiracies and lawsuits and frivolous behavior that she engaged in. And this is to me why these MAGAs are so disgusting, and why they're so despicable. Because he gives her this layup, and then she's like, I was just fighting for election integrity and security, and that's all we can ask for right now. And I mean, that's what Donald Trump is doing. Again, just this behavior. This shouldn't be a political party thing. You're a loser. You lost in 2022. You lost in 2024. You took on a fake position at a critical agency, at the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which oversees Voice of America. Then you proceeded to fire everybody. Your whole life legacy is just being horrific as a human being. Just watch what she does, though. Play this clip.
So I'd like to just give you a minute to step back and give you the opportunity to speak in the case there's anything you'd like to address as it relates to your 2022 and 2024 elections.
Can I have more than 5 minutes?
No, I don't know about that. But
actually, you don't want that probably. But thank you so much, Senator McCormick, for opening your schedule to me this week. I enjoyed meeting with you. And yes, in a family of 9, 8 girls, 1 boy, that I did learn diplomacy, because you have to, at the end of the day, and we didn't have a lot of means. We were pretty poor, although nobody ever told us that. We had to hop in bed and sleep with our sisters. We didn't have enough bedrooms. So you didn't want to take that fight or disagreement all that way to the next day. So I'm so honored to have grown up in a big family. Thank you very much. I felt that I ran incredible campaigns with the grassroots of Arizona firmly behind me. And I'm very proud of the way that I conducted myself and the way we ran those campaigns. As a newcomer to politics, I thought that this country was set up where an outsider could step into politics, but then I realized that Sometimes the political class doesn't want the outsiders, but that's okay. It was a great learning experience. I fought for fair and free elections in the courts for the people of Arizona. And I'm glad that the president is going to continue fighting for fair and free elections. I'm looking to the future, and what I want to do is to hone my skills. I want to take everything I've learned thus far and work at being the best diplomat and ambassador that the U.S. has ever sent to Jamaica, and I'm looking forward to that.
And then she was questioned by Jeanne Shaheen. And Jeanne Shaheen, Senator Shaheen from New Hampshire, I mean, she lays out the case against Kari Lake and Kari Lake's behavior. But then I just think that she kind of lets Kari Lake just go and ramble. I mean, I guess we can see that Kari Lake is, just beyond unqualified for anything. I mean, she should not be an ambassador to Jamaica. I mean, we shouldn't be rewarding these frauds. I'll let you judge this one for yourself. Let's play it.
You destroyed the Farsi language broadcasting ahead of President Trump's war in Iran. You cut the Spanish language services ahead of the administration's action in Venezuela. You put over 2,000 employees on leave, paying them not to do anything for months. And when my staff asked how much that cost taxpayers, you had no idea. Well, we know that keeping those personnel out of office and on administrative leave has cost American taxpayers $139.7 million. An independent audit found that your interpretation of the so-called statutory minimum standard on staffing caused the agency to violate the law. And when my staff asked questions about these actions and invited you to meet with them, you refused to meet, and you subsequently directed your team to stop all communications with my staff on this committee. So help me understand how we're going to be able to trust you to respond to Congress concerns if you're confirmed as ambassador to Jamaica, if what you've done to date is to stonewall questions that I have on behalf of this committee.
Thank you, Ranking Member Shaheen, for the question. I appreciate your concern for the agency. It's an important agency. And as I said to the chairman, I'm really proud of the work that we are doing there. We have made ourselves available to your team. I was really happy to be able to meet with your team. I see some of them behind you right now, from your Western Hemisphere expert to Naz and Amy and Mike and Mark. They were incredibly kind and had a lot of questions about USAGM. It's a difficult task to bring an agency to statutory minimum, and I leaned heavily on career civil servants who were at the agency to help figure out what that meant. And we're actually operating at a higher level than what they suggested. I think that we needed more people to do the job, and we're working really hard to make sure we continue to be efficient. If we have not been forthcoming with our time with your committee, I will apologize for that. I know that many members of our team have met with your staff, and I can think of 3 or 4 times that we've met with them already. And if that wasn't enough, then we can work to continue our open dialogue. I know that we have reached out recently and said, where can we find some common ground here on what you need so that we're providing it in a timely fashion? And we haven't heard back. I did say that I would make myself available to meet with you, and then never got a response from your team if that was open in your schedule.
If you didn't hear back from us, I'm sorry that happened. I hope you will commit to provide this committee any information that's requested if you're confirmed.
Yes, I will commit to working through the State Department and their legislative affairs folks to make sure that we have an open line of communication and that whatever is needed, we can provide you.
Thank you.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.